How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast on the day of Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Boston are 2-1 up. What are your immediate reactions to that so far, Sully?
Not a lot of people expected this, and
No.
I mean, that has to be that's a big shock first and foremost.
Yeah.
You have to tip your hat to the Celtics. They're coming to win. They're not just coming to take part. They're coming to win these finals, and I mean, they're looking great at the moment. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, my prediction's already out the window. I said Golden State in 5, so yeah, that ain't happening. Do we reckon that... Well, we will talk about all of this later, but do you reckon that if Boston get the dub tonight, it's wraps?
It's hard to argue against it, but I think so. I had this little moment last night where I was just thinking about it. So, of course, everyone knows the Warriors choked the 3-1 game. Everyone remembers it. This is their redemption. They go 3-1 down tonight, and then they go and they don't lose. And then they take it to game 7, and Draymond blocks JT on the last second, and then sends it to Steph. And then Steph hits a game winner, and that's the redemption. That's the redemption. But
Look, if
that
that happens, you're like a prophet, man.
if that happens, I'm the guy. Put me on ESPN, please. We've been waiting. That
So
would be crazy.
Yeah, how many games have you watched of it so far? I know you watched game 1.
The only one I missed was game 3.
Okay, fair. All right. Well, I haven't watched any because I'm a loser and prefer sleep. Um, I'm not like you. I'm not mental, but I will be watching it tonight.
It is tough for us guys though.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially when it's like 2 a.m. stuff.
I'm gonna say it's not even like regular 12 a.m. maybe
Mm-hmm.
like 12:30, like 2 a.m. starts. No,
Yeah, because like the 12 o'clock ones, like they're done at like 2:30, 3. The 2 o'clock ones, like they're done like near to 5.
you
Like
go to bed and it's light outside.
fully, the game's not even finished and it's light outside. It's light outside before the fourth quarter starts. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, man.
the birds are singing for Steph. Like,
Well, game 1, you watched that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, you obviously watched game 1. Game 1 was big surprise.
Very, very big surprise. The Celtic were not amazing for three
No,
quarters of the game.
I would say it was Draymond Green that said afterwards, that said we controlled the game for like 42 of the 48.
But it was that last 6 minutes that really, really put them in the bin.
Yeah,
And
someone put something in Derek White's and Al Horford's and Payne Pritchard's and Marcus Smart's Gatorade before the fourth quarter.
whatever it was, like seriously, I'm watching this, and they're going like blow for blow for the first like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, like both of them are hitting a shot, and then like Celtic went like on a 20-0 run, and I'm like, where did this come from? And it was just so crazy because like the Warriors didn't know what to do, and the Celtic were like, let's just keep shooting, and no matter what, everything was just hitting everything, and I was like, wow, like I did not expect that because before the fourth quarter started, I thought, okay, you know what, I think I can go to bed now. I think I know it's going to be 1-0 to the Golden State tomorrow morning, and then I just thought, let's just wait 5 minutes, and then I ended up waiting till the last second of that game ended, and I was like, what has just happened? Like at the Chase Center 2 in game 1, no one expected it, and I think that's what these NBA finals are about, really. But I mean, a lot of people have been, including us, sleeping on this Celtic team in the finals. Obviously, we know what they've done leading up to the finals, but everyone just kind of
I've
assumed.
backed them. I've backed them all the way. So
Everyone like kind of, a lot of people really thought, as well as they have done, they might not be able to get the job done. And I mean, they're looking like they're out to prove everyone wrong right now. And
yeah, definitely.
I mean, as of right now, they're proving me wrong. I did say Golden State in the 6, so Golden State need to not lose now.
Yeah, if it happens.
But I mean, you gotta give it to them. You really do.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that potentially this could be a little bit on Steph game 1? we saw what he did in the first quarter. He got like six
Mm.
threes. He had like 21 points. When you score 21 points in the first quarter, you got to be thinking, got to maintain that throughout. He did end
Yeah,
up with about 34 in the end, which
something
is,
like that. I think it's
that's still
34,
big.
35.
I
Yeah,
mean, let's be honest, he has been the best player in the finals so far.
yeah,
If Golden State won the finals, it's easy
yeah.
finals
Easily, he is the
MVP.
Finals MVP.
But do we think there's been conversations over the past that's like Steph Curry isn't clutch. Like,
Mm.
it's well known that he scored only like one game winner
Game
buzzer
winner.
beater in his career. Now, obviously, I feel like that is very. You got to take perspective into that. Golden State have been
Mm.
so good for so long. The likelihood that their game has been
In
final
need of a
possession,
clutch win. Yeah.
quite hard. It's quite rare that it's happened.
Mm.
But Steph, you look at it in a finals, even if it isn't Steph, if your main
Mm.
guy is scoring 13 points through the final three quarters,
Mm.
it's not really something to be looking
It's
at
not,
thinking,
and I think because obviously it was game one, and as well as you can't prepare for guys like Steph. But I think in that first quarter, I think like the Celtics, like like the defense coaching, like after that first quarter, they're like, okay,
yeah, I was going to
this
say
is what we
props to
need
the
to do,
defense.
and yeah, 100%, because as well as Steph was in that first quarter, and he was amazing. I fully thought he was going to end up hitting 60 by the end of the game or something crazy.
Yeah,
Like they locked him up well. They knew what mistakes they were making, mainly in the sense that they were giving him way too much space, and you cannot give
yeah, they were
Steph
playing
a
that drop
sniff.
defense, weren't they? Yeah,
Yeah, you
and I
can't
mean,
do
I
that
feel
with him.
like they have returned to that a little bit in the in games 2 and 3, but I feel like they've kind of just lived with it a little bit more.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're right in the sense they have kind of gone back to that drop defense because obviously a lot more like players have been getting buckets and stuff like in the way that when they were all trying to like double triple team Steph from the remainder of that game one that like they they now are like just reverting back to what they know best but also not making the big mistakes that they made in the sense of they're playing drop while also still applying pressure, whereas Steph was having way too much space in that first quarter. And I was to the point halfway through, I was like, are they going to even try and, like, apply some defense to him? Because, like, it seemed like he was just out there training the way he was hitting almost every shot. Like, I was like, damn, like, if this is how Steph's coming for game one, just call it after the first quarter and say it's done. But they really switched it on after that and they locked him up, and I guess that's what you have to do in big games. You need to adapt and
Yeah,
fix where you're going wrong, and that's exactly what they did. So you have to like tip your hat to that. But I mean, he came correct in games 2 and 3, anyways.
yeah,
So I feel like I said, as much as you can prepare, you can never fully prepare for guys like Steph because you never know how they're gonna come. Like the way he's so shifty as well, like you just never know what he's gonna do. Like, but they have been dealing with certain people very well, as especially I think in game two, Clay did not get even a sniff of anything because the way that they just had him by a chokehold the whole game. I think he ended. It must have been. I feel like it was single numbers. He ended. I might be wrong in saying that, but I'm sure it was single numbers that he ended. I don't even think he got like more than 8. I might be wrong, but I know it wasn't a lot. And that's props to amazing defense that we know they have. We know they have, but I mean, to see it in a big finals matchup, it just shows like quality in all these guys in the Celtic team.
yeah. Shout out Ime Udoka for that.
Mm,
Golden State had some good defense first game too. Obviously, other than other than conceding 40 in the
yeah,
final quarter, they D'd up Jason Tatum really well game one, forced him
yeah,
to be more of a playmaker, which he did quite well.
yeah,
13 assists on game one, but shot about 3 of 17 from the field. Um, Obviously his team pulled through. It was kind of the opposite in game two. Jason Tatum doesn't really take 2 games off, is
yeah,
what we've learned here. But
yeah.
I feel like we have seen so far through games 1 and games 3 that Boston's second guys, so not Jason Tatum, not Jaylen Brown, they're Marcus Smarts, they're Al Horfords, they need to be out.
Yeah,
And to be fair, that's what it's a championship team. It's not a championship
100%,
two players.
hundred
You
percent.
know, you're I don't want to call them role players because they're not off the bench. Kind of
Mm,
your second option
yeah,
needs to be on it
hundred
all the
percent.
time.
Especially when it's a finals game, a
Yeah.
final series, and we know these guys are good players. Obviously, we've seen, All Star Al for a lot of these playoff series. We've seen Marcus Smart like played really well. Obviously, then we've got JB and JT who are like the star guys of this team. But these, like you said, you don't want to call them role players, but obviously they're not the main guys either. But they've been stepping up, but they cannot let up at all because if they let up, then the team just kind of falls piece by piece because these I don't want to say smaller players, but like the Al, Marcus Smart, all of them guys turning up is what's keeping them from winning games because it's the difference between them turning up and then like whereas in the Warriors it's only Stephen and you've got a bit of Clay here and there and then you've got some not even Jordan Poole hasn't really turned up these finals yet. So
Mm.
it's adding the difference and the reason why they're up by a game. But like you said, you got it right. If they let up at all, then they're gonna start to disband and lose games.
Well, yeah, because we saw that happened game 2.
Yeah,
Marcus Smart 2 points, Al Horford 2 points. Boston overall scored 88 points that game.
yeah, not great at all.
Golden State did him up quite well.
Mm,
And you say Jordan Poole, we haven't really seen him much this playoffs. Boston really did expose his lack of defensive presence game 1.
yeah,
Game 2, we thought they were going to do the same, and then Jordan Poole came
yeah.
out and said, I might not be able to play defense well, but I can
But
shoot the
defense.
ball.
Yeah, he was
And
great in game two. I will say.
well, we always say third quarter Warriors, and I'll talk a lot about third quarter Warriors a lot. They're OP after
Mm,
the half, and Jordan Poole hitting that buzzer beater at the end of the
yeah,
third kind of
half court.
solidified that and made sure that whilst maybe he won't get many minutes in these finals because Boston kind of have him sussed, they
Hmm.
know who to attack. We saw him do the same with Steph game 3
Yeah,
a little bit. Um, he will play valuable minutes and he will put up a decent amount of
100%.
points, especially when Clay isn't shooting as well as he did, which was the case in game 2. Um,
100%.
Game 2 also saw Jason Tatum come out with a 28-point game
Yeah.
after his poor game 1. In the end, he really was the only person who pulled through. Jaylen Brown, who, for my money, is at the moment the Finals MVP.
Oh, yeah, I can back that as well.
He didn't have that good of a game, like we said. Marcus Smart didn't have a good game.
Hmm.
Al Horford didn't have a good game. I feel like overall, Boston just didn't really have that good of a game.
Yeah,
Golden State, backs against the wall. You drop that first game at home, you need to take game 2, or else
yeah,
it's so much harder to even get back from
yeah.
that. I don't know what the stats are on teams that have gone 2-0 down in
In the
their home
finals,
court in the
yeah,
finals. I don't even know if it has happened. Usually, if you get to the finals, you should be able to win game 1 in your own court, surely.
yeah, or one of the first home court games. But like you said, like it, if they went two down in the both home court games, you're looking at can they even get one?
Yeah.
Like the conversation for the sweep would be on. Like everyone would say, "Oh my god, are the Warriors gonna get sweep?" Like it would be crazy. But I think, like you said, they have been obviously like backs against the wall. Game two, they knew everybody knew the Warriors were taking that one, and as Celtics didn't have a great game, the Warriors also just had an amazing game.
They
So
had a good defensive game. I won't say they played too great on offense, only scored 107 points. We said Clay shot 4 of 19, Wiggins shot 4 of 12. Obviously,
mm,
Jordan Poole, he had his best game 2.
yeah,
Steph, you could potentially say he dropped 29, which is, I think, the lowest he's got in the 3 games so far. So I guess, we always say defense wins you championships.
mm,
At the moment,
it's
defense has
looking yeah.
played the part in both games,
Mm.
you could say.
I mean, and to be honest, when you see the number one and number two defense teams in the league go at it,
Yeah,
you know there's going to be a lot of strong defensive sequences, a lot of strong like quarters and minutes where teams aren't scoring points, and you've seen that in this series. There's been like I think there was a stretch of 6 or 7 minutes where nobody got a bucket. I think in the third quarter or the second quarter in game two, I might be wrong. Um, where what did nobody got scored a point. The defense was just so strong that when you're running offense, you just there's not much you can do because
yeah,
they're so locked in with the defense. And obviously, when it's number one and number two teams, you're gonna see things like that. Whereas obviously in previous years, you've seen just crazy like 3 points being hit, alley oops, everything. You're not gonna see that in the against the number one defense team in the league, the number two defense team. You're not gonna see things like that.
yeah. You're gonna need to grind out more dubs.
Hmm.
These wins,
100%.
most definitely, you got to feel like you've earned it, and that's been the case so far. You'd definitely say 1 and 2, both teams kind of pulled through. Boston shot well. Game 1 was
100%.
forced into taking tough shots and didn't
Hmm.
shoot well. Game 2, and then obviously Game 3. I guess it was inevitable that Boston would come out and answer back again. We have seen stats. Boston in these playoffs are 7-0 in games after they've lost. If that makes any sense, they've won
Yeah.
7, they've lost 0 in games after they've lost the previous game in the series. So obviously Boston lay it up first half,
Mm.
and then third quarter Warriors came out and put a bit of doubt into Boston. Maybe
Yeah.
you'd think, but knacks of a good team, knacks of a championship quality team, is when you have that momentum going against you and you're getting outscored 15 points in the quarter, you're able to flip that back and
Hundred
work back
percent.
on them.
100%. And I think that's just like you said, props to just a championship team. And a lot of people, like, obviously everyone knows majority of this Warriors team, like the experience is there. Even especially like they've got Iggy back this year, which we know he was a part of the big like team that got all the championships and the big three. And then with that young core, like we've seen them perform amazingly in these playoffs, and you knew they were gonna be like a hard job for the Celtics to deal with. But with that, you have to say the job that they've done is almost like, as well as some people did back them, I don't think anyone would think they'd be 2-1 up going into game three or game four, sorry, personally. Because I don't think anyone would have thought they'd taken one of the home games,
Yeah,
which,
fair.
like, I certainly didn't. I thought it was going to be 3-0, maybe 2-0 definitely going into game three. That's what I thought it was going to be. It was proved wrong from the minute the game one started. So I think, I mean, it could. Do you think it's going to go to seven?
No,
You think it's
I think Boston will finish it in 6 personally.
really?
Yeah,
That would be crazy. But
because let's be honest, as long as Boston get one dub, once Golden State get another one back, Boston they're on it when
yeah, true.
they're facing games where they've lost the previous one. They're on it. I feel
Mm,
like it ain't gonna stop them unless something big happens with Golden State. Saying that though, I feel like there hasn't been a game where all 3 of the big 3, Steph, Clay, and Draymond, have all clicked together. Steph's always been there, but
yeah,
when Draymond has been pulling through, Clay's been slacking.
yeah,
Clay had a really good game. I feel
yeah. Last night. Oh,
game
sorry, not last night. Game three.
game 3. Draymond contributed with what like
Mm,
contributed with 2 points, four rebounds, 3 assists, and 6 fouls.
yeah.
So I mean, he's a very controversial player, is Draymond. You
He is.
can't
He always has been that guy.
you can't discredit the impact that he has on his team, but
100%.
also there are he's built a reputation for himself to be this guy who can get himself into trouble and get himself ejected from games,
100%.
whether
And
it
I
be
think
flagrants or six personals.
I do personally think like he is like the heartbeat and what makes that team tick, but he's also what can be a big downfall for them at times.
Yeah.
And he understands that and he knows that. He's said that many times. He put the blame on himself for game one. He also like took a lot of responsibility in that game three and said, "Yeah, I let the team down." But I think without him in general, that team is nowhere near what they are. I think he is genuinely, as well as all the offense runs through Steph, and he's the 3 point king, and like one of the best point guards and everything like that. The heartbeat, I still believe, is with Draymond. But if he keeps performing the way he has over the course of these 3 games, then you might be looking at him at the end of the series and saying, well, maybe you were the reason they lost, kind of thing, because like he lacked control. He's lacking like the right mindset at times. Obviously, in game two, we saw him and JB get into it a little bit, and that, I mean, he was almost about to get ejected. He got lucky. Some would say. I personally think so too. I thought he was going to get his second foul and he was going to get ejected, but I mean, I don't want that to be the case because I do like Draymond. I think he's a great player, and I think obviously he's a veteran to that Golden State team. But I mean, at the end of this series, if it keeps going the way it's going and he keeps like committing loads of fouls and fouling himself out, then by game 6 or 7, they might say, "Oh well, Draymond, you got fouled out in game 3, and in game 1 you were poor, so it was your fault, or could you not like hold your hands up?" And I mean, I don't know how he's going to turn up tonight, but I'd like to see a big difference in terms of like just overly committing fouls and like not really, well, kind of the opposite of what we saw in game 3 basically is what I want to see from him, because it's just, if he's not performing, the rest of the team will not fully, like, they won't win. Personally, I
Mm-hmm.
think if he's not on his day, the team doesn't win.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart became the first trio in Game 3 to record 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in a finals game since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and Michael Cooper in 1984 for the Lakers. These Boston
Crazy.
players are out here to try and break all of the Lakers' records,
That is crazy. That
and
is
I'm all
very
for it,
crazy.
if I'm honest with you. And this
Honestly,
just goes to show that Marcus Smart, I feel, on his day can be as good as these two
these
All
big guys.
Stars that he has on his
I
team. I just feel
100%
he just has trouble staying consistent.
yeah, inconsistencies. But that's like with that, I think time will better him. Obviously, he's still young, and I think time will better him. And over time in the next few years, if the Celtics team can stay together and stay strong, obviously, who knows what will happen in the future? Then you might be looking at, and they might actually be the big three for Boston. Like,
Hmm.
in terms of, yeah, they're all as good as each other. They're all as consistent. That's how it could be, because
Hmm.
he has the qualities. He just needs to build on consistencies and everything. And I feel like he can do it, to be honest, because if you've got JT and JB, and although them guys are still learning, but if you're learning from them and then they're learning, you, like he'll pick things up, and then like you said, he will be, I think, as good as them
Yeah,
in the coming years.
yeah. Young team, young coach. Like we said before the finals even began, this isn't a win or bust year for Boston.
Celtics, yeah,
They're going to run it back next year whether they win or don't
yeah,
in these finals. But they've put themselves in a great position to go 3-1 up tonight. You know,
and that would be
you said it could potentially be a redemption arc. I personally disagree. I feel like um, Golden State aren't as good as that Cleveland team was, in my opinion. I feel like 2016 Cavs are better than the 2022 Warriors. That could be a hot take. That could be a hot take. But I'm taking LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love over Steph, Clay, and Draymond. In fact, no, you know what? I don't even think that's a hot take. You know, they are aging. Steph does think he's still in his prime, and, you know, there's no arguing with that, in my opinion. But I feel like Clay and Draymond, most especially, are way more inconsistent than they were not that long ago, I feel.
No, I was thinking about it, but yeah, to be honest, I would take the 2016 Cavs as well. But that's no disrespect to the current Warriors team. I
I feel
think
like
that
the
2016 team,
Warriors team potentially is still a better all round team, in my opinion. I just feel like,
that big three was special.
yeah, you know, the star power is sometimes what drives you over the
Yeah,
line instead of,
but like I said, that's no disrespect to the current 2022 team. That 2016 team was just something crazy. Like obviously, to come back from 3-1 is next to impossible.
yeah.
But if there was a team in this current NBA roster that I would count on to come back from 3-1, I think it would be this Warriors team, if I'm honest.
That, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really think of anyone else that could do it.
I mean, obviously, like we've said many a time, they've got the championship experience. They are a championship team,
Yeah,
and the championship qualities may shine through,
yeah,
and we could see some amazing things. And I mean, if that was to happen, that would, and then Steph would probably get that Finals MVP. You could be talking top 10 all time for
yeah,
Steph.
yeah. So who do you think is getting? Who do you think is at the moment the Finals MVP?
Basing off the score and performances, I'm gonna have to say Jaylen Brown. The guy's been phenomenal
Yeah,
for the Celtics and a big reason as to why they're winning. JT, as good as he is, obviously we saw a major decline in him getting points in that first game due to great defense from Andrew Wiggins, who, although obviously the Warriors have only won 1 out of 3, Andrew Wiggins I think has actually been a bit of an unsung hero for them. I
yeah.
think
I'd
he's doing
potentially
really well.
say there's like Tatum, Brown, and Smart, and then Curry and Wiggins at the moment, in my opinion.
Curry and Wiggins is playing amazing. Like he's surprising me a lot. Though obviously he's a good player. He
Yeah,
is a
he's
good player,
solid.
but the way he's turned up in these finals, I'm actually very surprised, and it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, I feel
Also,
like not many people take him seriously because he's. I don't want
yeah,
to call him a meme player in the way that like someone like Alex Caruso or JaVale McGee is, because
yeah,
he's better than that in my opinion. Caruso's a
yeah,
good player. McGee's
he's
a good
not
player.
he's
But
not a
Wiggins
mean
is.
player, but I think he does kind of get clowned on the internet a little bit. But he's good, man, and he's turned up like crazy these finals. But as well, Kevon Looney is not getting the ratings as much as he should as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's playing well, like, and he's a big player for the Warriors coming off the bench, and I don't think like people realize, but when I'm seeing that guy come off the bench, he's just always getting something done, whether it's blocks, like steals, winning the ball, like just he's always in the right place. And I think having a player like that come off the bench is massive.
I think he starts.
You think he starts?
I think he. No, I do. I think he starts. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Or
he
like in
starts.
general, or like he
No,
should
no, no.
start?
I'm pretty sure he starts. Like I'm pretty sure he's starting 1, 2, and 3.
I know he started in 2, but I don't think he started in 1 and 3 because
He
I mean
started in 3.
I might be wrong, but because I remember in 2 he started and they were like, oh, that's a bit crazy to
Yeah,
have Draymond
he
and
started all
Kevin.
3, man.
Oh damn.
He doesn't play as many minutes as like I think they
Yeah,
do go small a lot with Draymond in
yeah,
at the 5. You know,
because
the pool party lineup, as people
yeah,
call it.
the pool party lineup. Now, I do genuinely think that he is like quite slept on at the moment, but
Mhm.
like I said, Wiggins great right now in the finals, and
Yeah,
he's giving a lot of assistance to Steph as well.
yeah.
Like, he was finding him a lot. Steph, when he needs to find someone, Andrew is usually there, and he's been getting buckets, man. Like,
Uh-huh.
I didn't think he had his range like that but he's showing up, and
Alright,
that I
so
mean that.
other than game two, maybe you could
Mm.
say he has, but I feel like other than Steph, nobody shot the ball that well.
Oh yeah, no one's shooting the ball near to Steph in any of the teams, to be honest. But obviously that's like expected. But I will say if they keep going, like they will find their rhythm. I feel like it'll go 2-2 tonight, if I'm honest.
All right, fair, okay,
And I think he might be a reason to that. Like obviously we saw him lock up JT amazingly in that first game. Like I was just shocked. I was like, wow, I'd not seen anyone do this for most of the season. And then game one, even though they lost, it could have been a lot worse had Andrew not locked JT up the way he locked him up. It could have been a lot worse than just the 20 points.
yeah,
Could have been 30, maybe even more.
right. Okay, so you say 2-2 tonight. I just think it'll end up. I just think it'll be 3-1. I think
I want it
unless
to be 3-1 because
it's
I want
so
my
it's
dream to
so
come true.
hard. I'm gonna say I for as a neutral, I want it to be 2-2 in my
Yeah,
opinion. As a because it just makes for a better finals. It
yeah.
guarantees
Because
six games.
yeah,
Um, but I feel it's so hard to kind of predict Boston games because as
yeah,
much as I don't want to say that they're just a throw up the three and hope team, a lot of their game does depend on how well they shoot the three. You know, they take about 45 threes a night, like
that
on
that
a
is
good
that is true.
night.
To be honest, that is true. Like,
You know, they do take a lot of threes, and if it ain't falling, obviously Coach Udoka has been very good at switching things during the finals.
yeah,
Game three, they bullied the Golden State Warriors in the paint. They got Steph in foul trouble and
mm,
exploited that quite well. Um,
mm,
yeah, Jalen Brown, he's one of the best guard paint scorers in the NBA.
100%.
But also, you know, they were still shooting threes out
Yeah,
there. Um, yeah, I do feel like I also feel like it's hard to predict Boston games because you don't know who's gonna come out and do well. Like
yeah. You don't know who's
like
gonna turn up.
With Golden State, you know that Steph's getting 35
Yeah,
in the finals game,
yeah,
and then the pieces kind of just fill in together. With
mm.
Boston, you've no idea if Marcus Smart's going to go for 70 or 7, and that's something that it's hard to dictate. Um, I do feel that if Boston win it tonight, then it's over. I feel if Golden State can bring back the home court advantage and then maintain it through Game 5,
Mm.
then it's looking quite hard. But Boston have proved that their best is when their backs against the wall, momentum's against them, and they're just very good at switching that pretty quickly. So this has been a very entertaining final so far. The final scores have looked more like blowouts, but like I said, third quarter Warriors kind of just make it a double-digit lead before the
Yeah,
fourth.
definitely. But I mean, like I said, for the dream that I have, if it goes 3-1 tonight, I'll be hopeful of the redemption.
Fair enough.
But I do think it's gonna go 2-2, just because, like you said, with this the same way Boston have the bounce back, I think Warriors have the same bounce back too. And I think for that reason, it will probably go to Game 7, because then I think it goes 2-2, then it goes 3-2, then it goes 3-3, and then it goes to Game 7.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And I would love that. I would absolutely
No, yeah,
love
me
that.
too. It's a great neutral.
Yeah,
Game from a
because
seven, game
like I
7.
said, I don't really care who wins. I just want Steph. Like, if I had to really put my bias onto one person, I'd put it on Steph, because I want him to win and I want him to get the Finals MVP, and I want people to start putting him in that top 10 because he deserves it. I think he definitely deserves it. But
Well, we will
either
most
way,
definitely talk about that in the future. Most
mm,
definitely. We've talked about the finals a lot today. I got one little segment that I want to introduce before we go though, and that is the
okay,
rumor mill segment. We're getting into the off season.
yeah,
Trades are trade ideas are flowing about. You know, free agency
mm,
ideas are flowing about. A few coach hirings have been happening recently. Darwin Ham made his first appearance for again in front of the media as the Lakers coach,
mm,
and I guess we will start with the Lakers. and say that reports have been coming out saying that they have no plans to trade Russell Westbrook this year.
So Russell is going nowhere.
Unless like they're not actively shipping him out, I'm assuming is what the deal is. They're not going to be wanting to give up a lot of stuff plus Westbrook for someone else. Maybe that's because they feel he doesn't have good trade value, or maybe that's because he feels that he could play a decent part next season. Who knows?
I still think he has some trade value. I don't know if that's a hot take, but although he had a very stinky year, like it's still Russell Westbrook. Like I don't know. I still think he has trade value. I don't think his trade value is as high as it was 2 3 years ago, but I still think it's worth something. Maybe that like him and LeBron have had a chat, and he's like, you know, ready to do what LeBron needs him to do.
Yeah,
Because we always say like on their day this player can be like this. I think on his day, I mean he's the triple double king for a reason.
yeah. No, I get that. I guess
I don't.
yeah. I feel like he could have a bounce back year next year.
I feel like he has to. He has to for his own career. Otherwise, then his trade value means absolutely nothing. 2 bad years, you can't recover from that.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Well, Russell Westbrook ain't going nowhere. Someone who is most definitely going, leaving their team in the off season. DeAndre Ayton has been reports coming out
Yes,
saying
I've
that he
seen
has
that.
played his last game in a Phoenix Suns jersey, which, to be fair, I respect the decision that Phoenix
Yeah,
have made there. In my opinion, I wouldn't. You don't give. I wouldn't give him the max.
yeah.
Yes,
You
he's
don't give him
young.
the
Yes,
max.
he's young and he's got potential, but he's a center that only averaged 17 points a game last year. Obviously, that's still a decent contribution. But when you've got Chris Paul and
Devin Booker.
Devin
You
Booker
don't.
on
Yeah.
high wages, Mikal Bridges is going to want to be demanding high wages soon. So you got to maybe plan in for
Mm.
him to take up a little bit more of your cap space. I just don't feel like DeAndre Ayton's shown enough to show that he's worthy of a max contract for this Phoenix Suns team. I'm not saying that he won't find a max contract anywhere else. I feel like he's going to be most definitely going to a small market team that is not doing so well, and he'll help them with their rebuild. I'm thinking about like an Orlando. If Detroit have enough cap space, maybe
Mm.
Detroit if they can get Jamari Grant.
I don't
Um,
think I don't think he deserves the max from anyone though. Not to say I think he's a really good player. Like, but the max is crazy, man. Like I when you think of players who are getting the max, Giannis, you know what I'm saying? Giannis, maybe Jokic might demand them. These are big time players. DeAndre Ayton, to put him in that category is like, it just seems wrong. No,
yeah,
no disrespect to him. The max contract, if he's asking any team for the max contract, every team should be saying no. That's just out of pocket from him. I do think Phoenix should have tried to keep him without trying to give him the max, but maybe they probably did and they just couldn't. I mean, that's a blow from them, to be honest. I do
I
think.
personally, yeah, I feel like it is a bluff Phoenix. I feel like they're going to get worse because of it. I do feel like he will be worth a max contract in a place where he will be the first option. I feel like if
Mm,
he is the first option in a team next year, he can go for 20 and 12 rebounds on
yeah,
average. He
probably.
can potentially have an all-star season. I just
Mm,
feel he ain't getting a first option in a
yeah,
Phoenix Suns team, and therefore won't put up the numbers that you
yeah.
think would make him max contract worthy, in my opinion.
You know what I think he should go?
Where
LA.
you think
LA
everyone
are
should
in
go?
need of good young players because they clearly went a bit too old in the last off
Well, yeah,
season.
well, they don't have any draft picks anymore because they gave them all to Washington for Russ, and they have no cap space anymore because they got AD Russ. Russ is on like 100 mil a year or something like that. Like,
Russ is one of the most paid players for no reason. But I think he goes to LA. That's big because they actually have a real center then. Like,
you're thinking
and
sign and trade there, though.
hmm?
You're thinking sign and trade most definitely there, though.
Yeah,
You won't be able to just give him the contract and have it in your cap space. LA
yeah,
is a big market team. They will have a lot of luxury tax in there.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they definitely will have the money to actually just give him a max up front. You're probably gonna have to trade away a few of your decent assets. But I
maybe.
don't really know. Maybe other than Anthony Davis, I don't really know who Phoenix would want. When you talk about what Zach LaVine wants, which we'll get onto in a little bit,
Yeah.
talk about Zach LaVine. As a Bulls fan, if he does leave, I want him to go to LA because then that means we could potentially get AD back in return.
That would be big. Because I remember last year there was a talks of AD going to Chicago as well. So this obviously I know he has said that one
But
day he wants to
he's from
play there.
Chicago, so
Yeah, he has said one day he wants to play there. It could happen soon, but I think that would be as good as AD is on his day. The guy gets injured way too much, and that's going to be a big, like that's going to take a massive toll. I think Zach Levine, he's one player. I know I just said like when you give players the max, it has to be honest. This that
yeah,
he's one guy I would give it to
no,
because
definitely.
he's a franchise player and he needs to stay at Chicago for as long as until he's 40. He needs to be the next Jordan for them in terms of keep him here until we cannot keep him here anymore.
Yeah,
And that, like, if that means giving him the max, I think that's one thing your team is going to have to do.
yeah,
Like, because then we know what he's going to become. Like, we know like, his potential is so high. And obviously, you've got DeMar again. You've got Alex Caruso, you've got all these good guys, and I think with a couple more assets, you could do a lot better than just a first round in the playoffs next year.
hmm
But I mean, AD, if you can keep him healthy, massive W.
yeah,
If the trade was to happen,
yeah.
but
Well,
I don't know.
we'll talk more about Zach now. The
Mm.
Ringer reports that Portland are the Portland Trailblazers are looking to pair Dame up with either Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal this offseason
Ooh, ooh,
in a hope to keep him there. Portland also
yeah.
have a decent pick in the draft. I think it's like the eighth pick,
I think so. I
plus the
think so.
likes
Night.
of Joseph Nurkic holding down the center. I
Mm.
feel like if Dame does come back and they do manage to get someone like Beal or Levine, that is one of the best backcourts scoring wise in the NBA.
Yeah,
That puts Portland back in playoff contention, in my opinion.
but I just do not see anything that would get Dame to stay in Portland. Truthfully, because I think it's impossible unless they get Giannis and Steph to also join Portland. I don't think they're winning a chip. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like,
Yeah,
I think he needs to up and move rather than them trying so hard to get like Zach. I do think him and Bradley Beal or something like that would be crazy. That obviously Bradley, I think he should move from Washington as well. I think he's a lot better than them. But I mean that would be mad. I just don't see it happening. I see him leaving, and I feel like that's just more logical. If I'm being honest, like there's no chip in Portland. 4 or 5 years ago, if they had tried to get him a little bit more help, obviously we know they were not too bad in the playoffs. They did offer some sort of like challenge to whoever they played. But now, I mean, especially a 1 year out Dame as well, he's not going to be the same guy. Like, not to say
yeah,
he's
okay,
not going to
that's
have
fair.
the same qualities. Like, he's
No,
still
that's
going to
fair.
be really good, but he's not
hmm
going to be the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know where he goes,
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just don't think he stays. If he does stay, I'd be very surprised and I'd be very let down because that's kind of his career wasted then.
I guess. I guess. I feel like if that was to happen, it would probably be a Beal trade. That would happen. I don't really know what Beal's on at the moment, but I don't know. So therefore, I don't know what Washington are demanding in return. But I feel like the Bulls will most definitely demand more from Portland because they
Yeah,
are in a position where they want to win. So they're going to be wanting
100%.
some decent players. I'm talking someone like Anthony Simons, maybe Joseph Nurkic.
Yeah, because for Portland that would be a rebuild, whereas for Chicago it's an attempt at like reaching the end.
I think, regardless though, if we offer what Zach LaVine wants, he's going to be a Chicago Bull for the next 4
Yeah,
years.
yeah, and I think that's what you need to do to be honest.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, keeping him will help us win a chip. And then the final rumor. that has been circling the NBA this week. There's that the Bulls want to bolster their center options with either a free agency signing of Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks or a trade for Rudy Gobert from the Jazz.
Ooh.
Now the Jazz haven't really been listening to offers for Donovan Mitchell, trade wise. So I think if they are going to be getting rid of one of them, I do think it will be Rudy Gobert, and I feel like the Bulls are going to be one of the front runners for it. Just if we can give them Vooch and not Patrick Williams,
Mm.
in my opinion.
To be fair, I'd give up either for Rudy Gobert, to be honest.
For real, I feel it's going to make us a more of a contender, but I feel like if you get rid of Patrick Williams, you're throwing away too much of your potential youth there.
I can back that.
Number 4 pick in the draft 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's only just in his 20s. Growing and growing. We saw what he did games 4 and 5 in the Bucks series, where he kind of exploded with Zach LaVine and Lonzo out, and all of the good players out pretty much. He probably got about 20 in both games, I think. So I feel like he does have potential to carry on. I feel like if we can do that trade without getting rid of Patrick Williams, then it's a good trade in my opinion. But I feel Mitchell Robinson might be potentially a better option if we can get him without letting Vucevic go. I don't know how very viable that is. I don't know how possible that is. But I feel having Robinson as your rim protector who can play defense in crunch time in big games, rather than having Vooch, who's like a bloody potato out there on defense half the time.
Full brick.
But I feel like, a lot of people are saying no to Rudy Gobert because he is on a very big contract and also gets found out a lot in playoff basketball because he can't defend the perimeter as well. But he's a 3-time defensive player of the year for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Bulls ain't going to be relying on him to score any of the points. That's another thing that people are saying. People are saying that he doesn't score much. But if we keep Zach LaVine on the team, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, they'll carry it.
100%. And as well, that's the thing, like, with Vooch, like, there's this belief in his head that he needs to score, and he's not very good at it, and that really lets your team down. Whereas with Rudy, he knows, okay, I don't score the basket as amazing as other guys, but I don't need to. So his job is going to be defense and rebounds and assists and the occasional catch and lob type thing, which he does probably to one of the best in the league, and that would be a big asset to acquire for another playoff run for the next coming season, which I think you will get, and you will probably get a lot further, maybe even to the conference finals with a team like that. I can see it happening. To be honest, I can see it happening because that, although it is just one player, it's a big position that you need to fill, and the center role almost doesn't get as much recognition as it should, because if you have a good center, your team does run better, and I think that would be the case. And who knows? I would like to see that happen. To be honest, I would like to see Rudy wearing red next year.
I'd be down.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I'll message him because I've got his contacts and everything. I'll say,
I when you impersonated him, he reached out to you.
Yeah. He was like, "Yo, that was quite accurate. I thought I was watching myself on the podcast." I was like, "Yeah." So go Chicago. He said, "I'll see what's good."
All right, okay. Well, that's all I got. I think that's all we've got for today's podcast. We will be back a little bit sooner. I know it's been a bit of a while since we last recorded one of these, but exams happened, so we're coming towards the tail end of that though. So the pain is almost over, and therefore we should be able to get a more regular schedule going.
When's game 5?
It's probably like a 3 day break. I'll check. It's probably about a 3 day break. 'Cause they're off back to Golden State, are they?
Yeah.
Game 5 Tuesday morning.
Okay. We'll have to get if what depending on what happens on Game 5. I mean, we could be talking about the new champs
We could be.
or a great series. I don't know, but I feel like that's when we'll hit them next,
All right, okay.
probably.
That's
But
a good idea. But don't
um,
hold us to that because that might not happen.
yeah,
Um,
you know how we be.
you know how we are. You know how we are. But anyways, make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube. Make sure that you're commenting down below what we should be doing in the off season. Make sure you put some video ideas down for us to do over the off season. Make sure that you're sharing it out no matter what you're listening on. And yeah, Sully, you ready for game 4?
I am ready. I'm very ready.
Well, we will talk to you guys after game 4 and hopefully after game 5. Maybe there'll be new champs, maybe there won't be. We'll see. Peace.